Introducing our speaker. Without further ado, Kelly Nickel. Kelly is the program chair for North State SHRM, a SHRM affiliated chapter based in Redding, California. I had the pleasure of meeting him at this year's SHRM Volunteer Leadership Summit in San Diego in January, and he was incredibly enthusiastic about our Emerging Professionals program. He is passionate about public speaking, mentorship, and community impact, and he's been a public speaking instructor at Shasta College since 2007 and has evaluated over 12,000 student speeches, so he brings a wealth of insight and energy to the art of presentation. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Communication and an MA in Education from Chico State and is widely known for helping even the most nervous beginners grow into confident communicators. Yay, you can take it away now.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go lead some clapping there too, because everybody likes a nice round of applause. Give me a moment while I share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Everything look good, Priscilla?
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here. When you think about public speaking, everyone, it's really hard. And the reason why it's hard for a number of reasons, but I think I figured out why it's really hard. And that's because we hate being judged. And oftentimes I know we don't get the feedback that we'll really need. This is what we think is going to be thought in the minds of our audience.
I'm not hearing the audio.
Not hearing the audio? Let me try it again. Let me stop sharing. Let me try it again. And I will share that. I see audio on. Let's try it again. Ready? Are you hearing the audio now?
No.
Well, of course not. So let me do the voice of the announcer. That'll be just perfect. Okay. So here we go. Mr. Madison, what you've just said is the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no time in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to you. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Simple no would have been nice. And that's, I think, what happens to us is that we build up this anxiety that the folks that are watching us just aren't going to like it. And that all starts before you even start to write the presentation. Today, I want to invite you to move yourself slightly to the right of the center of the bell curve of average. If you can see this, I just grabbed this bell curve off the internet, but it's in general, if the green area were most average speakers, and a lot of people fall in the average speaker category. If you move slightly to the right, you exceed the expectations and you appear less than average or better than average. Here's the cool thing. You only have to move a little bit to the right of the average bell curve to appear greatly better. And those are the tips I'd like to help you with today. In general, I'm on part and I want to welcome you to joining me in an effort to reduce the number of bad presentations we all have to watch over the course of our life. But why? Why do you want to learn how to be a better presenter or public speaker? And it's this, it's about the gift you give to others. So when you're presenting, what you're trying to do is you're trying to prove to them that you really do care about them. You want to prove to them that you thought about them and their wants and their needs when you designed your presentation. You want to prove to them that you believe that they deserve your very best. It's the gift of human improvement, which I think is one of the most caring and valuable gifts you can give to someone else, is helping others improve. And it's so nice too for that. So who is Kelly Nickel? Where I'm a lot of persons as well. My oldest daughter, Kathy, will tell me that I'm a Renaissance man because I have so many things I'm good at. So let's look at some of those. I am a professional. That's just fine. You can see a picture of my wife and I there. We're always smiling whenever we're in Maui. That's my wife, Robin. We've been married almost 31 years now. In the lower left corner, you'll see a picture of my 3 adult children. We got to visit. I haven't been to Europe in all of my life, and so we got to go to Spain, and that is Christmas time in Seville. Over in the lower right, you'll see something I love doing for the last 18 years. I've done a lot of camps in the last 25 years, 25, 30 years. This is a camp I do in Reading every year called Shasta Youth Leadership Camp, where we have 150 middle schoolers who come to us for a week, and I'm in charge of the curriculum, and I'm also in charge of developing and training our 44 camp counselors, usually high school and college age kids. Super fun. I also have been teaching public speaking for 18 years, and that's part of my soul of who I am. You can see my professor on the right. I have 2 profiles. One has an E in the name in my name, Kelly, as well. Both of them have about 35 ratings, and they both come in at about 4.6. There's a couple of bad ones every now and then. Somebody's always not happy with something or whatever. But for the most part, I think most people really enjoy the experience. I know that my classes fill up first before anyone else's do. I get a lot of siblings, a lot of family members, a lot of friends who end up taking it on a recommendation. If you look down to the right, you'll see, lower right, you'll see some of the most common tags. It's important to give good feedback. It's important to be clear in what I do. I think the two that I really strive for the most and really am glad to see is that people think I'm hilarious and that I'm caring. And I'd even put caring as the number one. What you're looking at, that group of students, is the last day of class about a year and a half ago, and they just didn't want the semester to end. And this is back when, we all went to class. And they went to ice cream afterwards, and they had to send me a selfie. And it really comes down to the notion that before anything else, the most important thing we can do is strive to build those relationships, and the relationships are critical. About 15 years ago, I started a little business where I go to elementary school and teach kids to be bucket fillers, not bucket dippers. It's an old metaphor from the 70s. I've been all around California, Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Colorado. And in the last 15 years, I've been to over 720 schools doing school assemblies. It would be lovely if someone in this audience actually remembers me coming to their elementary school years ago, teaching to be bucket fillers. 5 years ago, I got the gift of a lifetime. I was recruited to try to fix the problems that COVID caused for first and second graders. We're now ending the season 5, year 5 of doing this, but I get what I get to do. I get to spend all day on campus pulling first and second graders out of their classes to help them reach their literacy benchmark goal. Basically, I get to hang out, laugh, teach kids how to read. Pretty fun use of my time, which led to the last 4 years of being able to be the girls basketball coach for the 4th and 5th graders. Occasionally, you'll find me officiating a wedding. What's cool is those top 2 couples were both students who met in my classes and fell in love and got married and have me. And then the other 3 or other 4 are also people that I've known. And there's someone that has taken my class. And occasionally, you'll catch me teaching a wine class for adults on how to appreciate and evaluate wine and enjoy it as a part of your life. And of course, I am the programs chair for our local North State SHRM chapter. I get to basically put together the learning events that drive the value for our members that provide what their membership wants. So it's a lot of fun for me. What I get to do is I get to do life enhancing things. And I offer that to you as well. It's a great way to look back. I'm almost 59. Looking back on my life, I at least get to smile about the fact that I made a difference in some ways to some. So here's what we're doing today, right? Want to let you know. So we're all about preparing better presentations, delivering better presentations, and then becoming better presenters. And I think each of you think to yourself, would I benefit from any of these 3 things? And if the answer was yes, I would say you're in the right place. Before we get started, I got to say, by the way, Priscilla, I can't see anyone, and so it's going to make it slightly challenging to do interactivity, but I'll model it as best I can, just knowing that there are folks out there. I don't know if that's something you can switch on your end to be able to show me the gallery, but if not, I'm good with it too, right? Here's the thing. You'll want to take notes. Now, here's the reason why. Because, okay, I've been working with college students for a long time, almost 2 decades. They are the most passive little creatures sometimes. They'll just stare. And if I say these words, write this down, I'll just yell it at them because they're just staring at me. So I do ask that you take notes. The next thing I wanted to do is ask you a question. What is your public speaking kryptonite? Now, side note. I know that my 80s, 90s, and early 2000s pop culture references don't always land on the Gen Zers who are in my class. In fact, they stare at me blankly, wondering what I'm talking about. Drives me crazy. Kryptonite. Does anybody know what I'm talking about kryptonite? Priscilla, do you know?
Yeah,
What's the reference? Do you know what the reference? Tell me. Tell me what the reference is.
Superman.
Superman. And what's kryptonite?
Um, he, I don't know.
It's the thing that renders him powerless.
Right.
It's the one element in the world that he loses his powers. And public speakers have that too. In our minds, we're going to do great, and then we go to do it, and the kryptonite hit. And here's what I'm going to suggest: the kryptonite for public speakers are your cringe monster and your anxiety monster. Now they work tandem, right? Your cringe monster is there to keep you safe in social situations, not to be embarrassed. Cringe monster is always there, is okay encouraging you to say yes to public speaking opportunities, but it's always going to remind you this is going to be scary and someone's going to judge us. Our anxiety monster is a little more free will. It has a hose of like adrenaline, just spraying it everywhere while you're giving a presentation. Here's the cool thing. If you are willing and eager, and I actually think eager is more important than just willing, if you're eager to prepare enough and practice enough so that you'll be confident. Confidence is your kryptonite to your anxiety monster and your cringe monster. And so, but here's what you got to know: that preparation and confidence are closely related. They go hand in hand, and you can too. So let's get rolling. Preparing better presentations. Number one thing you've got to do is understand your audience. Now, this isn't always easy. You've got to guess. You don't even know who's showing up sometimes. Sometimes you do. You know, it's either to a Rotary group or an HR group, and you can have some generalized understandings of who will be there and what their wants and needs are. However, you don't always know. If you can do the research to find out who they are, that's great. If you can do questionnaires to the program organizer or whoever's asked you to present, that's great. If you're presenting to a college class of your peers, you know who's there. But in general, what can we do? So first of all, understand that your audience is comprised of self-centered stimulation junkies with very short attention spans. They would like everything to be about them. So my first recommendation, I have a lot of number one recommendations too. My first recommendation is always make it about them by saying the word you whenever you want to say the word I. Example, I have prepared for you a presentation on blank. Nope. You are about to hear a presentation about blank. It's a simple switch, but the better you get at it, you'll realize you're using you instead of I all the time. I think you should have a general understanding of personality types. Now, my favorite is the Enneagram. I'd love to know. Priscilla, are you able to see the gallery? Just checking. Are you able to see the folks?
I'm not able to see the everybody, but they can write in the chat.
I mean, or we'll just get you, even though I can't see you, I'd still love to have you put your hand in the camera and tell me who here actually knows their Enneagram personality type numbers. I'm looking around. I'm going to report back. Looks like about half of you. Whatever personality type of measurement you're looking at or getting qualified or understanding better, know that there's Myers-Briggs, there's the emergenetics, there's the colors, there's, oh my gosh, there's so many personality models out there. Like the Enneagram, because we all have a little bit of some. So if you've never looked at the Enneagram, please go to the website 9 Types, the letter 9 with a TYPES. And that'll get you started. You could also just use ChatGPT to say, tell me everything you know about the Enneagram and other personalities. Also know that in your audience are multiple types of learners. Now, this is a guy named Ned Herman. You can see his copyright down at the bottom of the slide. I use this in my classes all the time. It's not hard science, but it gives a metaphorical representation of where we generally fall as far as preferences for learning and teaching and, you know, conversation and communication. And if you can find that, that'll just make things so much easier for you. So in general, let's say there's 4 different types of people. In that blue quadrant, you've got logic-oriented people. So they want the facts. They like the facts and the data, and they want things clear and direct, concise, and no wasting time. Down below them, the more practical kinesthetic folks, that's where you need the details. And so one of the things you've got to be able to do when you're presenting and being more conversational is use first names of the positive people in your stories and use proper names of the places and events that you're talking about. So just don't say, back in high school, my grandma used to say, you say, back in high school in Thousand Oaks, my grandma, Jasmine, used to always tell me, blah, blah, blah. Using those details will be huge for the green folks. The yellow quadrant, the more right brain folks, they like those visuals. They like when you paint pictures with your words. They like metaphors. They like zooming out to look at a problem from above before zeroing in. And then most of the people in your audience, I'd say a good 50%, maybe a little less, are really going to appreciate how you make them feel. There's plenty of pop culture quotes. And the one I never say myself has to do with they don't care what you know, they know. All they remember is how you made them feel. Okay, I won't use that one because it's overused. But just know that most people are wanting to have an emotional reaction. And that's really your job, is to somehow trigger those emotions through imagery, through visuals, through conversations, through your humor. You got it. Also remember that people have different learning retention rates. Now, if you take a look at this, if you look at that little bar, that little pie slice that says verbal only, that's a lot of what I'm doing now, except I am showing you pictures as well. So think about some of those presentations that have just been one person talking and you've been listening. Look at the retention rate. Yeah, you're going to remember like a little bit, right? Now, if you can add in some slides that have some words or handouts that have things printed, you'll then be able to activate a little more retention. If you can bring in some music and some imagery and some rhyming, some patterns and tempo, that's going to get some retention. If you can show people things like you're going to go from here to here, it's going to add some retention. If you get your audience actually discussing with each other, or if your presentation has the tone of an interactive conversation, that gets higher. And if you can get them to actually practice it, you've got more. Of course, the number one thing you can do is inspire your audience to share the information with someone else, because in sharing your information is where they're going to retain the most. And if you take a moment and think back to when you've really learned something, really learned it, you probably shared it with someone else because it was so interesting and so fascinating. And that's where that comes in. Your listeners and your audience, they don't want much, but they do want relationships. They want relationships with you, the presenter. They want to have a relationship with the others in the audience. They want to have a relationship with the material and the content. They also want it to be relevant. That, don't talk about things that don't interest them. You want to do your work to be able to zone in and make sure what you do say and present and the gift you're giving them is something that they want and can use and need. But they like it tough. Don't make it too fluff. They want things to be rigorous, not too rigorous, but at least challenge them to think. And the imagery that you use and the concepts you bring really do want to challenge them. They do like some autonomy in how they learn. So giving them options for how they can approach your presentation or what you're sharing is always great. And everybody wants to have fun and play. So fun and play is a unique thing. Humor falls right in there, and it's okay to be funny. Even try to be funny. That's great. You can get them to do games, just showing you something I do. If you can see it, I might do acrostics. You can see that with my audience. Maybe like a Wordle style, just introducing things. There's a lot of things you can do to understand your audience. And then more than anything, let me go back. You really want to focus on that payoff. Always be starting with your presentation, or whether it's just a short report back to the board, or whether it's a presentation you're doing on Flipgrid for one of your classes, whether it doesn't matter. Think to the end and think, what do I want them to know? Why do I want them to know it? What do I want them to think, and why do I want them to think it? And when you do go to the end and think about them, you'll be better prepared to design your presentation in a way that appears to be a gift that they're receiving, and you thought of them and gave them just what they want. Very good. We're moving on. So now we have a little bit better understanding of our audience. You're going to organize your thoughts so that they can follow along better. You would like, ideally, your presentation, whether it is just a short report at your Rotary Club or a 10-minute report back on what you did at your case competition, they'd like it to be organized in a way that makes it easy for them to follow along. You're wanting to use, you want to be so well organized that even the most dense, most distracted, the most drunk person in the audience still can follow along without trying really hard. And if you get them thinking, trying to figure out what you're talking about, you haven't organized it well enough. I suggest you use a strong outline. This is a skeleton of the outline I use in my classes. And Priscilla, give me a head nod if you can see that clearly, if everything looks good and everyone can see it. Fantastic. So you want to have that bang, wow, attention-getting, clever hook opening. This is probably the thing I see most people not do, especially I just came back from a SHRM conference in Sacramento last week. And I took note of the fact that most of the presenters never really even started with a bang, wow, attention, a bwat, I call it, the G is silent. A bang, wow, attention getting clever hook. Take a chance, take a risk. They'll appreciate the effort to engage them. Then you come in with an exact purpose, tell them exactly what you're going to give them. You always want to let them know why it's important. You might have noticed I did the same thing at the beginning of this, and give them some reasons why they want to listen to you. Think, always reintroduce yourself. Hi, my name is Kelly, and today I'm qualified to speak, or I'm here because, and I know what I'm talking about. So give them a little bit of that qualification. I mean, these are always in your presentations, and then you want to break it down. I think 3 main points, no more than 5. But 3 seems to fit well. And you be hyper repetitive. So here's the thing. And I'm going to talk about openings and closings in just a second. I'll show you a couple of examples. But that repetition is so valuable. You might think while you're speaking that all of your repetition is redundant. And yeah, it is. But the listening audience only using auditory processing needs that. They need it to repetitive. So that's why when you get to your transitions, you say, before we get started, blah, 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 blah. And then after your first main point, you say, now that we've talked about main point 1, let's go on to main point 2. And then you do the same thing. So we know about main point 1 and 2, let's go on to 3. That repetition is critical. Then you get to the very end and you recap it. So this outline does what you may have heard before. Priscilla, you might know this one. The 3 things you do. You tell them what you're going to tell them, remember? Then you tell them, and you know what the 3rd one is, Priscilla? Tell them what you told them.
Yep.
Tell them what you told them, right? And it really does work that way. If you do go to the end and you think back about what you want them to take away from it, that's called backward design. And then those become your objectives. Today in this presentation, you will learn blah, 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 blah. It really does work well. When I say content elements, please take note. Those are the things you're going to say. Now, you've got to have a variety of things. I recommend stories. In every main point, you have at least a story. But that's where you've got your facts, your data, your examples. By the way, a personal example is different from a story, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Your opinions, don't be afraid to put your opinion in, and or cited sources. But whatever goes in that content elements, that's where the meat of your presentation goes, right? And if you are going to use a slide deck like we're using today, it's important that your slide deck does not have all of the words you're about to say. In fact, this is just PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint. And then you don't read all the bullet points, what you're going to say. I think you use mostly imagery and headings. That's just me. In business, you might find, like my wife works in pharmaceutical, her slide decks are filled with content. In the general presenting, if you are using a slide deck, it's about evoking emotion and connecting the content of what you're saying to an emotional response and reaction in the eye. Think about this. You want your audience to constantly saying to themselves or verbalizing things like this. Wow, really? What? Interesting. Go on. You want them reacting that way. And it's the imagery and the headings that get them that. One thing to note, if you are using a slide deck, you're chained to that slide deck. There's not a lot of free willing that can go on. And that stifles me sometimes. I'm giving it a shot today to see how I do with it. But it leaves you less freedom without. And so some people will go without. But it does help. Remember, some people need to have that slide deck as well. So now, openings. I'm going to show you a couple tonight. If you cannot see these, this is a professional speaker named Patricia Fripp. Tell me, Priscilla, are you able to see that slide I just pulled up? I just told it, it's red, it says Fripp. Fantastic. If you look at what Fripp's got, tell a story, introduce a little known fact, interesting statistic, ask a rhetorical question, make a bold claim or promise, propose a challenge. Those are things that you can do. Also, boom, he gives you the words. So if you just Google Patricia Fripp openings, you're going to find this, and closings. So these are some of the words that you can use. I'll never forget the first time when I blah, 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 blah. It's one of the scariest moments of my life. So put this into perspective, right? These are things you can do. And the challenge is to get folks to actually, I'm sorry, I'm having, okay, folks to actually put that in their presentations. A lot of times you just don't take a chance. And I look at my students, I'm like, why didn't you, if you're doing your speech on Disneyland, why did you start with "When you wish upon a star"? You know, you don't even have to be able to sing on key. They will appreciate you if you made an effort. If you need to, tell us a poem or a rhyme. You know, when you wish upon a star, no one, see what I mean? You can do that. Take that chance. They'll appreciate it. So now, moving on, everybody take a deep breath. There's more. We are only 1/3 through. If you are going to be uh, preparing your and preparing your better presentations, the next thing you want to do is to be delivering better presentations. One you can do, not always happening, be interactive and multimodal. We tend to, I watch at these conferences I go to, a lot of times it's no longer teaching, it's didactic one way. And they say, telling ain't teaching, is what they say. And when you're just talking, folks ain't learning. It's the brain that does the work, that's the brain that's going to learn. So you want to be interactive. How are we going to do that? Well, remember that retention rate chart? Look over to the right of my screen. Here's some of the things you do to be conversational and engaging. You are repetitive. You say things over again. You use music, whether you sing it or bring it in or anything can be engaging as well. Those callbacks, when you say, and I've used a couple with Priscilla, you know, tell them what you tell them, and get people to call back that way. Video clips, I love video clips. You'll always get a video clip in one of my presentations, at least one or two or three. I love doing games where let's think about this, or Rochambeau with your partner too. You can do that. I love to always praise my audience. Really good question. That's really smart. You people really do know a lot. And acronyms help as well. You like my slide that says, please focus on the speaker? Hey, here's what I can do. Here's a couple things. Ask more than you tell. This is tough. We tend to, but instead of saying, think about what a regular teacher would say. If you say, you know, teacher, I have a question about why is it this way? And a good teacher will, instead of answering, will say, that's a great question. I think it's like that. Doesn't sound like every teacher you ever had that knew what they were doing. Invite those respondents. Wouldn't you agree? What do you think? And use names to call them out. Tell me something new before you even start. All weekend, you know, when I was at that conference, I remember they would just go to their next point. And it would be so easy to, before you get to the next point, let's say it's best friends at work. And you say, so before I get started, who here has a best friend at work? Really? Really? Okay. And then report back the results. Anytime you take a poll, you always say, that's about half of us. And then have them share with you. And then you can move right into your point. If they do ask a question or say something, always repeat it back for the general audience, or else you're just having a conversation with one people. You use your words and your visuals to try to trigger those positive emotions. And I mentioned the reactions that they do. And I mentioned taking polls. And if you do have Q&A, and this is important, I'm going to model this today. You don't finish your presentation and then ask for Q&A, because it's death. Like you finish your presentation, your bang while closed, you get your clappity clap, then you do Q&A. It never goes on. It just all of a sudden, people at the end of Q&A, nobody's paying attention. They don't know whether to clap or not. You lost all your power. So you save your recap and bang while close till after the Q&A. So you're now being more interactive and multimodal. Let's now engage and be memorable. I think the most important thing you can do, I have a lot of number ones. I tell you, number one thing you can do is to be memorable. We talked about retention. When I ask people who their favorite speaker is, can they name them and why? They sometimes can't even remember the names, but they remember something they said. And it's usually memorable because you triggered an emotional response of some sort. So how to be that? Ready? Engage their mind, ready? Stir their soul, touch their heart, make them laugh. So right now, to be interactive, I would say, let's say that all one more time. Get ready to mouth or say out loud, the right answer. Engage there. Priscilla, you can be our model. So, okay. So you want to engage there,
Mind,
mind. You want to stir there,
soul,
touch there,
heart,
and make them.
laugh.
And you can, all of you can do this in any interaction or presentation you give. I ask you to speak parenthetically. This came up a couple years ago. I go, this is it. If you, by the way, and you're doing a presentation with someone, remember that speaking parenthetically is a great way, not the best way, but a great way to be conversational. You can, the next time you speak, be more parenthetical when you speak. Do you see how I just threw 3 parentheses in there? That's so key. It's so practiced, and it really does work. When you are moving, move with purpose. I don't want you wandering, trying, walking the stage back and forth without a reason to. Just remove that if you gesture slow. It's okay to gesture with your hands, but don't do a lot of flinging stuff. Here's the advice I give you. Move slow until they get used to you. Then you can be engaging. So those speakers that come out, you've seen those presenters, right? Like, get scared, right? But if you come in nice and calm and slow and you start to get a little more engaging and have it, it does work, right? If you're going to give a presentation, I highly recommend you tell stories. All right, so story time. I struggle every semester to get any college students to add stories in their main points. Why, Kelly? I don't know. People resist it. I think I figured it out. We're human beings, our cringe monster is worried that the people listening don't care about our story. Here's what your cringe monster doesn't know. That's all they care about. Your cringe monster is wrong, trying to keep you from telling us, embarrassing yourself or wasting their time. You watch an audience, and if they're getting facts and data, then a story comes. You'll watch them all kind of lean in like this. Because stories are how we organize our life. And stories are the ways that we communicate all the time. You're not Dwight Schrute. Anybody get the Office reference? Okay, Dwight Schrute would be facts, and then tell you something. But stories, Tim tells a story. Right? So here you go. These are the 5. Ready? Yes, set the scene. Back in 1992, blah, 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 blah. You introduce the characters. My wife and I met in Chico. Something happens. We fell in love. Describe how the characters responded or react. We went on to date for 5 years, moved to San Diego, ended up getting married and having 3 kids. Moral or lesson of the story, find someone who will appreciate you when you're young and stick with them and make, I literally just made that up on the spot. I wasn't even ready for, because you can tell, but remember, you get in, get out with your story. And that number 5 step is so important to add. Remember to always tell us the first names of the people in your story and the places. I said Chico, I said Robin. Okay. And if you can do anything in your presentations to be engaging is to be passionate about what you're talking about, be enthusiastic about being able to present it as a gift, being authentic yourself. Don't try to be someone else, but you can mimic and model, copy and steal everything. CASE, C-A-S-E. That's what teachers do. We copy and steal everything. Give credit if you can. If not, just say, I was at a conference and I heard a speaker say, blah, 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 blah. You can do that as well. Be credible. Let us know where you found information. I require in my courses, people cite their sources from information they didn't make up themselves, but just tell us. Because when you're not, I'm always wondering, when you give me some outrageous fact, if it's, you don't tell me where you got it, I'm questioning. I'm a skeptic. I'm like, yeah, right. Says who? And be real. Know that you're nervous. They know you're nervous. Focus on the gift you're going to give them. Deep breath in. We are rolling on this train. Choo, choo, chugga, chugga, chugga. Now that we know how to organize our presentation better, we know how to be more facilitate, more engaging and more conversational. Let's then look finally at how to prepare and practice better. So how do you prepare and practice better? Well, get ready to shout the word practice, because if the old adage goes, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? None of you are going to get this, I'm telling you. But all right, I'm going to give you some blast of the past. It was a New Yorker cartoon. The New Yorker is a magazine. I don't mean to sound kind of... See, you drive me crazy. Okay, so the New Yorker, and it's a guy on the streets of New York, and he asks the passerby, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? He's a tourist. Carnegie Hall is where the very best of the best musicians get to perform. And the answer from the other guy is practice, practice what? Just And I should just wear a shirt every day. I've got my Shasta College shirt. I don't know if you guys see that because I'm a dyed-in-the-wool, soldier of the mission. But I also should just remind my students all the time, practice. And the amount of time you practice is directly related to your confidence. And your confidence, remember, is kryptonite to your cringe and anxiety monster. How do you practice? On a very high stakes one, I'll spend some time in thought. I'll put in for now 1 hour presentation, I'll probably put in 20 hours of prep. And that's sometimes laying on my back and sometimes taking a walk. But just know I'm constantly thinking. Hardest thing in the world for me is to turn, an 18-week course that I teach into a 55-minute presentation for you all. One thing I do, you can record yourself on Zoom or record on your phone and listen as you practice, but practice with your notes, practice with your outline, and take and write notes and so if you can see my notes right there, look at all the stuff I'm handwriting in as well as I frame it and then practice and prepare. You need a delivery device, okay? So your delivery device is what you use to present your presentation. Mine is this. I've got these pages. I sometimes, if I'm doing a more formal presentation, I'll use my 3-ring binder. I will actually put the pages in like this, side by side with big spacing. See all the spacing in the headings and the notes, and that goes right on the lectern. And I'm not always the biggest fan of note cards, but on a shorter presentation, maybe a poster or note card's fine. But can I please beg? I'm going to beg. Here I go. I've got my hands. I'm begging. Please, can we all just say a pledge to never use our phones as our delivery device? Please raise your right hand with me, everybody. Repeat after me. I hereby promise I will never use my phone to deliver my presentation. If you are practicing, you're not memorizing the words you'll say. You're not memorizing the words. You're memorizing how to say them. You're memorizing the pacing, tone, intonation. You're the phrasing, the phraseology, where you'll put emphasis. And this came to me when my daughter Kimmy, my youngest, was in the 5th grade. She was rehearsing her lines for a play. And I heard her at the kitchen table in a monotone saying all her lines. And it came to me. I said, that's it. She's practicing memorizing the words, but when she gets to rehearsal, she'll practice how to say the words. And I say, don't worry about memorizing what's in it, memorize how you'll say it. Please also, on a side note, know how to say every word in your presentation. Please don't flub a doctor's name and say, or whatever it is, or a site. You just say it, know it, Google it if you need to know how to translate it. But that's a way to just crash your credibility if you don't know how to say one of the words or say it wrong. Even worse. Make sure you know. You want to manage your emotional state. So breathing is important. I watch students it's what I do for a living. I watch students give presentations, and even on Zoom, because I do my classes online as well, they say it's still anxiety producing. So I want to encourage everyone to breathe. And the proper ways to breathe involve your lower chamber of your respiratory system. One thing you can do is you can take your hands and place them on your belly basket. And you breathe in and out using your lower abdomen, not your upper, where that just is more adrenaline, right? The anxiety monster is like a red alarm. We're spraying adrenaline. Use those lower. You can hold it. While you're doing that, you can make up a sentence. So I want you to take the 3 words that you visualize yourself as successful as a speaker and plug those in. I am a confident, prepared, and engaging speaker, whether it's a lie or not. Just do it. Just say it. I'm a confident, engaging, prepared speaker. Then you say, I know what I'm talking about. They want to hear what I have to say. If you look back, if you were there with me in the lobby of a Marriott 10 years ago, pacing around one of my first higher paid gigs, I'm saying, why did I say yes to this? Second, I'm like, I'm a confident, engaged, prepared. It's a tough thing when you decide to give the gift of life enhancement to someone through a presentation that you deliver. And you owe it to yourself to do the comfort. Then just if you need anything else, just do the final acceptance. I'm not a cusser, but you might be able to say fudge it. It doesn't matter. And what you're saying is this is stupid, this anxiety, unless, of course, side note, unless, of course, you didn't prepare. If you're winging it, I might say you kind of deserve what you're feeling right now. Okay. Back to reality, the haze in the barn. If I could see you all, I'd say, who here knows what that means? Priscilla, do you know what it means, the haze in the barn? Great. That helps. So no one knows what it means. Well, maybe someone. If Susie's on the call, she probably knows what it means. Anyone over the age of 40. And just picture this, farmers, well, honey, the barn's full, the wetters are coming, haze in the barn. Everything you've done to prepare is there, and just accept it and roll on. Those trains are rolling, and it sometimes feels like a train pushing you into your destiny. The destiny is your audience's improvement, and that's so valuable. Now that we've covered that, it's time to wrap it up on how to become a better presenter with a lot of tips. Ready? Tips galore. Here we go. Number one, remember it's all about them. And while you're doing this, by the way, I want you to picture yourself either the last time you gave a presentation or an upcoming presentation. Picture you looking out at the audience with eye contact. Just always remember, it's all about them. It's not about me giving a speech. It's about them getting a gift. The audience will know that you prepared the audience will know that you care if they can tell you prepared. But I guess I'm hitting it on a repetition, but if your whole goal is to prove to them that you've thought about them and care about them, then through your preparation, they will feel that way. Have water nearby. Ready? And it's okay to take a drink in the middle of your presentation. Thirsty speakers. Don't want to be one. We don't want to see one. If you've ever seen one, it's like an alien trying to get some liquid somewhere, and they speed up and their heart rate increases. It's just a mess. Please, always. And if depending on your age group and demographic, if you're a Zer, you might want to not have a plastic water bottle, because right now some of you judged me, and it's okay. I'm good with that. But bring a reusable canteen, and you might just even prove more that you care about them. Here's some things. Priscilla, sorry to say it. You said it. Don't say without further ado. Don't say last but not least. Don't say those little things that average speakers do. Just stay quiet. And what's interesting about moving yourself to slightly to the right is just watch it being done and think, you know what, I'm going to do that. And another one you don't want to do is say, I hope, at the end of your presentation. So today, I hope that you've enjoyed our presentation. I hope you've learned more about me. Say, I hope. That's just us being polite and meek. And that's nice. We want to be meek. We're polite. But just say, today, you got it. I gave it to you. You got it. Please recognize your verbal graffiti. If you are someone that says ums and uhs a lot, have someone point that out to you. I've seen so many people that got paid for a presentation that still don't have control over their verbal graffiti. I keep a tracker going. I actually tally mark up your verbal graffiti. Here's the good news. I've watched students that just at the beginning of the semester, first speech, 3 minutes, 35 ums. Second speech, 8 minutes, 58, 59 ums. Third speech, informative, 92 ums. I'm like, boom, boom, my tally mark, I'm out of ink, right? Fourth speech, 0. And it's because pointing it out to them and getting you thinking about it allows you to fix it. It is a fixable thing. On that same line, please don't shout interjections. No. Okay, so, all right, you're not a cheerleader. Ready? Okay, here's what I saw. Keynote speaker, the very first speaker at the SHRM conference in Sacramento last week. I think he's a great guy. I think he's qualified and deserves all of the credit for being a professional and a lawyer and a speaker. But man, does that guy yell out some interjections. All right. Okay. All right. So, okay. Close your lips. Smile. Breathe in through your nose. And go on with your next point, possibly a question to the audience. Please don't just read the script to us. That's terrible. This happens more in my classes. There's a big difference between looking at us and occasionally looking at your notes versus reading off of your notes, occasionally looking at the audience. For that matter, please don't read things off of your screen. If you know it's back there on your PowerPoint, just say it and don't look back and read it to us. Know your timestamps. I'm keeping an eye on mine. Priscilla, I think I'm coming in strong. I don't mean to sound surprised, but no one minds if you come in a couple minutes early on your presentation. Not so fun if you go along and start saying, "Hey, I can I go 5 more minutes?" Unless you're so good that we'll give it to you. But just know your time. Remember, if you are presenting in public and in person, so share eye contact with everybody. And what I do, because I go do school assembly, so I have 350 K through third graders looking at me, right, sitting in the audience, and I got them for 35, 40 minutes. I do everything I can to know my corners. I know who's at the corners. I go find them beforehand and say, I'm going to do my best to look at you. If I don't, will you wave at me so I can remember to look at you? And just remember, back corners, middles, you're just sharing your eye contact as best as you can. What happens is we oftentimes find our audience, and sometimes it's like the one person who's smiling and engaged. Guess what? They get the whole presentation because you're just like, oh, I'm looking at that person the whole time, right? Square up. If you are presenting in person or even on Zoom, square up. You don't wander, you don't worry, and you might rotate on a Z axis, but your shoulders always want to be in front of your audience. I don't think that you wander the stage. I think you stay put for the most part. You can move a little bit, but it is that squaring up and looking at folks like this that really matters. Don't finger count. You'll see people do this all the time. In fact, last night I caught myself doing it as well, right? Now, watch how many times people finger count, and oftentimes they count the same finger. So blah, blah, blah. And third, we're going to da. So that's what average speakers do. You want to be above average? Bum, 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 or bum, 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 or 1, 2, 3. Please don't say, I hope at the end. I hope you've learned more. I hope you've come away. I hope you go away and do this. Just say, now is time to go do this. Now you know more about. How about this one? Don't say thank you at the end of your presentation. That's a challenge because you've got to be so clear that your presentation came to an end. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your time. Blah, 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 blah. And then you just smile and everybody claps. And then, speaking of clapping, when they're clapping for you, it's not cover fire to get out of there. It's not cover fire to look for the person to give the mic to. Here's what you do. And guess what I saw at the conference all last week? Right as soon as we started clapping, they looked down, they looked at their notes, they're looking around. It's not cover fire. Look at the people clapping for you and thank them with a smile for giving you that. Please don't ever ask us to close our eyes in your presentation, by the way, as a side note. I'm like, why? Are you going to steal something? What's going on? No. We can imagine what you're about to paint for us with our eyes open. Don't tell us those thoughts in your head like, oh my gosh, I messed up right there. Or don't tell us anything that diminishes yourself. Oh, I should have done this. Or now I'm not usually very good at, or I don't even like presenting, blah, blah, blah. Don't tell us those thoughts. We'll never know, right? During the applause, I mentioned this, smile at them. Dressing, you want to dress smart. Now today I wanted to be all Shasta, but I wore my jacket. Here's an interesting thought. Why do you dress up? Out of respect for the audience. Here's the other thing. You never really want to be overdressed by someone in your audience. That's something to think about as well. Don't wear clothes that make you fidget. Please don't have clothing like with a scarf or things like this because you'll pull on that. Don't wear dangly things that make you shake them and make noise. Don't wear sleeves that you keep pushing up sleeves that never fell down. It's a lot that our bodies do because of nerves. If you make a mistake, don't say, oh, I'm so sorry, I messed up there. Although you can say, pardon me, I meant to say, or excuse me, but just don't dwell on it, right? Don't say, oh, okay, because we won't know when you make a mistake. If you're going to write an introduction for yourself, think about the 3 Ps. Ready? You want to have a little bit of your professional background, a little bit of your personal background, and your purpose for speaking. So all of you, if you've got to give a presentation that someone's going to introduce you, and I didn't give this to Priscilla, I was going to see what she came up with, but it had some personal stuff, it had some professional stuff, and purpose for speaking. If you are being introduced, here's an interesting one. Where do you stand? Stand right next to the person introducing you. Smile at the audience. It's weird, I know, but don't stand off to the side. Don't stand at the back. Stand right next to them as they read your introduction. That's why you want to keep it short, by the way. You can also, to get better, read a book. So I used to require the exceptional presenter, but now I just have a PDF that I got off the internet, and because we use all 0 textbook costs. Nobody pays a dime for textbooks in my class, and I think that should be a nationwide standard. But that's a different speech. This is Sharon Bowman has some books great on how to present in small 10-minute chunks. Those are always great as well. If you are going to deliver on Zoom, anybody deliver on Zoom? Probably some of us. The more you do Zoom, the better. For the most part, every semester, I always take a poll and I ask how many of you, is this the first time you've ever delivered a presentation sharing a PowerPoint on Zoom? And almost universally, it's everybody. And so more practice is good with that. But if you do Zoom, couple tips. Ready? Number one, elevate your screen. Whether you use Tupperware from the kitchen or one of these, by the way, I think I can show you one of the stands right here. See the stand I have right there? That is really helpful because that elevates up your screen to eye level. On your profile pic, have an engaging photo. I don't know if you saw mine. Mine's with myself and my wife. Anytime I can associate myself with that beautiful creature is going to make me look better. So one of those, make yourself real. I think we should have a rotating on our Zooms of something engaging that tells people, remember what audiences want. They want that relationship. They want to know more about you and what makes you tick. Remember, if you're on Zoom and you're in the audience, could you all remember your RZF? Here's an acronym. Who knows what an RZF is? Priscilla, I see you thinking about it. I'll give you the first word, resting. I'll give you the second word, Zoom. What do you think RZF stands for?
Resting Zoom face.
That is it, resting Zoom face. She gives some snaps up for Priscilla. Please remember, when it goes from your screen onto you, Priscilla, I put on a smile, I'm like, have it be that, and in your audience too, right? And then always practice sharing your screen. You don't want to fumble around saying, okay, can I see it? Or look like a total amateur. You want to look like you've been here 1,000 times. Take a deep breath in. Right on time, Priscilla. I wanted to, before I get to it, and here's how you state this, right? Before I get to a recap and some closing thoughts, I'm wondering if there's any questions out there. Does anybody have questions or thoughts or comments? And you can say, for example, you might want a little bit more, and maybe someone wants a clarification, but with just a minute or two, we invite you, and then you be quiet. Do you want them to say? So Priscilla, did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. People
Anybody
can
else?
put questions in the chat. I'm watching it.
And if there's no questions, that's always good. Then you can say something like, what's nice is that looks like I knew you well, you could say. And I'm okay with no questions. I got a bang while closing coming up.
Great.
Look good?
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, since you have no questions, how about a gold nugget? Takeaway. Someone in the audience, chat in or type into the chat box something, just one thing, like Curly from City Slickers. Who gets that reference? That one thing. What's one thing that you can use in a presentation? Priscilla, share some of those with me if you're getting them.
I'm not getting them yet.
Everybody's still finishing homework on their Zoom. No, I'm just kidding. One takeaway. What's something you can take away with you?
For me, it was the first point where we talked about the cringe monster and the anxiety monster.
Yeah.
Just being able to challenge those.
They're there to help, they think.
Yeah.
But it's nice to think of them in terms of beasts to defeat. And again, I used to talk about this. I used to think about killing, stabbing violently your anxiety monster, and you're not. You're just sedating them. Because they are zombies. Here's the thing about both of them. They're zombie monsters, and they will come back. And so know that you can sedate them, but they'll be there the next time as well.
Liz said,
and then if you can become friends with them. Yeah, what else you got?
Liz said, change the I to you.
Yeah, that's good.
Ariel said, not saying thank you at the end.
Ooh, yeah, give it a shot. Try.
Brittany,
you'll want to say it. If they don't do anything for 3 seconds, you go like,
yes, I can't even imagine.
Stay. Smile. They'll know you're done.
I'm going to struggle with that. Brittany said, be conscious of your verbal graffiti. Yes. Yes.
Thinking I didn't have a whole lot on this one, but I don't know sometimes. Yeah, that's great. All
I
great
will not
comments.
say, Grace says, I will not say sorry or thank you to the audience. This one surprised me, but I completely agree now. And Jen said, not saying, I hope you do this.
I appreciate it. Well, everyone that did enter something, if you could stick your hand in the air, please bend it to the devil and pat yourself on the back for some retention on your part and engagement in the learning. Because remember, the brain that does the work is the brain that learns. So as we close, I've done my best today, and I know that you've been able to be exposed to three main things. Number one, how to present and prepare better presentations, how to then deliver better presentations, and more importantly, and I think what we all really want is how to become a better presenter. Remember, it's about moving slightly to the right of the bell curve of average. It's not about being perfect or being someone else. It's being your best you. And it's not even about you. Remember, it's about your audience. Because if you're moving slightly to the right of the bell curve of average, what you're doing is giving your audience an even better gift. And they'll be more appreciative of that as well. I'm going to end with this clip right here. And now that I know you can't hear it, I'd like you to find it. The guy's name is Randy Pausch. He did a last lecture years ago before the internet was really much of a thing. And it was the very first time anyone passed around links to something on YouTube. And he was dying from pancreatic cancer, and he had about 3 months to live at Carnegie Mellon, where he was a professor. He got to give the last lecture. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. Okay. He died about 3 months after he did that, right? He has 3 little kids and a wife and a perfect life, right? He gave this reprise on Oprah. So if you all would do me a favor, and do yourselves a favor, and Google in after this presentation when you have time, Randy Pausch, Oprah, you're going to get a 12-minute version of his last lecture. And it'll be filled with so many examples how just today to live your life better. And I'll show you what happens at the end. So he gives this speech and he goes on and on and on and on. He's talking and he's doing this. And I don't think you can hear me, Priscilla. I don't think you can hear it. No.
No.
Okay. And he gets to the end and here's what he says. Ready? All right. People have benefited from my lecture, but the truth is I didn't even give it those gathered at Carnegie Hall. I only wrote this for 3 people. And when they're older, they'll watch it. And he does say thank you. But then you'll stand there, and here's what your audience will do this time. They will, this is you, and there's your audience right there. They're clapping, they're crying because it's Oprah, and you gave them the gift of a lifetime. And now you all know how to be a better public speaker, give better presentations as you pursue your HR and other careers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to send